Sainfoin is a wonderful plant. However, it would have some limitations for you here in the Prince George area. Sainfoin doesn't do very well on acidic soils. And as I understand, in the Prince George area, a lot of your soils are acidic, more than 50%. Generally speaking, a lot of our grass species and legume species function best around that 5.5 to 6.5 pH range. So if you have acidic soils that are a lot lower than that, that is very hard for a lot of our alfalfas or even some of our grasses to really do very well. There are some grass species and there are even some legumes that we're working with that can survive in acidic soils or soils that are very waterlogged, which might be your situation. And later in my presentation, I'll tell you what some of those forage species are. But if you are in a position where you could look or consider Sainfoin, it might have a real great thing for you. Sainfoin grows early in the spring and summer and holds its quality later in the fall. It doesn't lose its forage quality as fast as others. And it's non-bloating, has new Sainfoin cultivars that were just released called AC Mountain View, have excellent regrowth potential. So what this means is it has the ability to be grazed and regrow back and work well with alfalfa. And the great thing about Sainfoin with alfalfa is Sainfoin provides the bloat protection. Alfalfa is one of our most nutritious forages. It's one of our highest producing forage, but a lot of producers shy away from it because of the bloat problem. So Sainfoin in a mixture with alfalfa can substantially, if not prevent bloating from occurring. And if you could get the best of both worlds in regards to grazing performance, animal production with the alfalfa, as well as the nitrogen fixing ability, include it with a Sainfoin that has the protection against causing bloating, also is highly preferred by the animals in grazing. You have a powerful mix there. So why do we even want to consider grazing with alfalfa? And once again, a lot of our alfalfas don't necessarily grow very well in acidic soils, but alfalfa is the most productive forage that we have in Western Canada, highest nutrition of all the forages, higher in protein and energy than grasses. In short, high proportions of alfalfa in a pasture can result in better performance as far as gains, 5 to 20%, as well as intake. The animals are able to eat it, it's great forage quality, and they're gaining faster. So all of this is increasing your utilization and efficiency of production on your pasture systems. And you also get the advantage as far as fixing nitrogen and contributing to the health of your soil. So when you consider that the production efficiency is about 2.5 times that over grass, pastures with animals grazing alfalfa can gain and produce a lot of total live productions on those pastures. You have those animals there and your production efficiency is so much better. But producers shy away from this because of the bloat concern, and that's not an idle thing. It's not great to see your animals suffering, and it's not great to see them, heaven forbid, pass away. And so as a result of that, many producers don't incorporate legumes such as alfalfa or seed it at such low rates that you can't get the bang from those alfalfas. So that's why we are looking at Sainfoin as a possible integrating it with the alfalfa and getting that bloat protection. So Sainfoin is a non-bloating. It has a condensed tannins that has a number of benefits to it. The condensed tannins provides a protection against the bloating situation that occurs in alfalfa. The condensed tannins also provides a protection against certain microbial infections and organisms. In fact, there's a study that we have in which we are looking at condensed tannins associated with another type of native legume that prevents E. coli shedding. So it has a huge advantage as far as an animal health benefit and a human health benefit. The condensed tannins also bind protein, so you get an improved efficiency use of your nitrogen or your crude protein that the animal is eating. So what that might mean is that later in the season, if you have the condensed tannins there, you can get a better use of the nitrogen that is there. Those plants, many of our plants, their crude protein levels are declining as they get older and more mature. But with the condensed tannins there, you can protect some of that protein and use it more effectively. The condensed tannins, as I said, improve nitrogen use efficiency and antimicrobial. And what we found in our work is that if you had sandfoin in around that 15 to 20% of your sward, that was sufficient to give you protection against bloating occurring in an alfalfa sandfoin mixture. So this is just an example of one of our pastures in which we have sandfoin in an alternate row to that of alfalfa. So here's just a little bit of information in regards to sandfoin. It's an excellent forage quality. Palatability, the animals will prefer to graze sandfoin. So if you have your animal that actually likes something and is actually going to graze that, that helps you as far as utilizing that material. So preference is really high. Sandfoin is not native to Canada. It's from Eurasia. There are two old sandfoin lines called Melrose that was developed by Ag Canada in 1969, and Nova, which is the newest one that Ag Canada had done, and that was in 1980. However, as I said earlier, there is a new sandfoin that's come out called AC Mountain View, developed by Surrey Arturia out of Lethbridge, has regrowth potentials to be able to stay viable with alfalfa, and so its production levels is almost the same as many of our alfalfas. So this is what you have there. And although seed has been distributed to North Star Seed Company, they're just in the process of increasing those things, and probably commercial availability of AC Mountain View will probably not occur until 2016 or 17. So it's adapted to the brown, dark brown, and black soils. Remember this though, sandfoin it's not very good for acid soils, so it may have limited ability for some of your soils here in this area. Nutritionally, it does not decline as rapidly as it matures, so that's great. You have that opportunity to graze this throughout the season, and one of the reasons why it's hollowed stem, so it's able to have good grazing preference, good forage quality later in the season. It doesn't drop, it leaves like alfalfa does, so that holds its quality. So that was just really quickly the sandfoin and what work is being done there. And I just wanted to really touch base quickly on this new forage legume for sustainable summer pastures. One thing that I've seen is that producers are interested in something where a forage will be there, will stay there for a long period of time, one generation type forage. Seed companies don't want that at all, for obvious reasons, right? And so as a result, since we have to work with seed companies and we're trying to tailor to the needs of producers, we're often at odds, because the seed companies would love for you to buy seed every year, and the producer would like to say, I just want to seed it once and my kids can deal with it when they can. Okay, so here's an example of one that's incredibly good that the seed companies have shelved, that Ag Canada helped develop, which was AC Yellowhead. AC Yellowhead alfalfa is recognized as very persistent in grazing tolerance. It's essentially seed it once and it's there for the lifetime, a generation plant. It has some characteristics that make it difficult. It has not a huge seed producer, so seed companies are not interested in really looking at it. And it takes a while for it to get going, but once it's there, it is excellent. And so it was really developed in the early 1980s, and then the seed companies shelved it, and then it was not available for producers. Efforts made by us, we've taken it out, trying to give it some more exposures, and certain now seed companies are now interested in it. And hopefully, and you can purchase AC Yellowhead's seed, that producers will now recognize some of its beneficial qualities. This is a study that we're looking at different mixtures, and I just want to quickly go through this so you're just aware of what some of them are. So once again, you can kind of see from my earlier comments, you've got to develop a pasture system that gives you the most production that you can for your type of your land base. There are some marginal lands that maybe it doesn't make sense to put certain types of high producing forages in there, because you're going to have to manage it for that reason. You're going to have the fertility in there and make sure it's going to do good. If you have some good land that you want to get maximum production from, why wouldn't you want to put your best forages in that type of system? So we're looking in a mixture for a legume plus a grass. One of the reasons is that the legumes provide nitrogen, and so it's a win-win situation. And if you have a good grass there, grasses have a component that is good to have certain qualities that are good later in the season that could extend your grazing season. So here we have the legumes that we're considering: AC Mountain View, Nova, Shoshone, which is the newest sandfoin that's been developed in the US. Shoshone in this case has a different disease package, so it's more resistant to crown rot, which may be a huge advantage in wet areas. Once again, remember, we only have one forage breeder in Western Canada, and so we have to really look at what the US has done. Delaney, which is also their newest US sandfoin. Delaney would come very close to our AC Mountain View. We also have AC Velt, which is a Sicer milkvetch. Sicer milkvetch has been looked at in Western Canada because it's good for fall grazing and it holds its quality. As well, it's non-bloating. And so that is a characteristic that some people want to include a legume for later fall grazing. AC L'Amour is these native purple prairie clovers that we're working with in Spark. Purple prairie clover, this one AC L'Amour, and Antelope, which is actually from the US, is a white prairie clover, have the highest levels of condensed tannins. It's the highest level of condensed tannins that we've seen in any plant, tame or native, and the animals don't shy away from it. So the animals will be able to graze this year round. They'll graze it at vegetative, they'll graze it at flowering, and they'll also graze it at the seed set stage. So there's a lot of opportunities there if you have a multi-year, multi-season use. And also we have a native one that's from Canada. It's called Canadian milkvetch, which also has incredible forage qualities later in the season. We're also looking at these new ones as far as Tom, which is a Russian wild rye, which was developed at Swift Current. Baborsky 2, which is the newest Russian wild rye that's been developed by the US. It seems to have some really good forage potential later in the season. AC Success, there has been 2 hybrid bromes that have been developed by the University of Saskatchewan. AC Success is one of them, and I'll explain a little bit about that later. And a new one that is just coming out, 2 new meadow bromes. The meadow brome has been one of those success stories, similar to canola. Meadow brome has been uptake by producers because it gives you that opportunity to have something that grows well and extends your grazing season. Bruce Coleman, who's the developer of this, has 2 new ones that will come out, Admiral and Armada, and those will come out shortly. So the 2 new hybrid bromes that have been released are AC Nose that we've grown. That picture that you saw in the corner with those AC Nose almost as high as my yearlings, that was AC Nose that we grew in Swift Current. And it wasn't necessary in 2010 that that picture was taken. So you can have phenomenal growth from that type of a hybrid brome. The hybrid bromes were developed because you're trying to get the best of both worlds. You have smooth brome and you have meadow brome. Smooth brome is more of a hay type of forage. Meadow brome is strictly for grazing. What if you could combine the 2 and get the best of both of those? And essentially, AC Nose has been bred to have more of the meadow brome side coming up, but you could still use it as a dual purpose, still get hay production. Now, if you're more into the hay production and just some of the grazing, then AC Success came in, which is more on the smooth brome side, but you still have the meadow brome side in there. So these are the ones that I had mentioned earlier, Admiral and Armada. We're looking at Admiral because it seems to stay greener later in the fall. So we're trying to get something that will extend the grazing season, and the Armada is better as far as forage production than the existing meadow bromes that we have now. Dr. Cyril Yaturia, as I mentioned, is working with AC Velt, the Sicer milkvetch that has been released. Velt has the promise of higher forage yields over the Oxleys 1 and 2. Oxley 2 is the only one that we have out now, but the Velt is available. You can get that, and Velt has better promise as far as seedling vigor. One of the pitfalls of Sicer milkvetch, some people didn't like it because it was hard to establish. It usually takes you 2 years to get it going. but AC Velt has better germination and persistence. And currently the main Sisler milk veg has been Oxley 2, or you could go to Windsor. Also, Syria has released an acid-tolerant alfalfa. So that acid-tolerant alfalfa would be maybe good for you here in the Prince George area. And that's called AC Meadowview. And more seed of that will become available. And there's also a saline-tolerant alfalfa that was developed through Swift Current and Lethbridge called AC Bridgeview. So, in conclusion, I've told you a lot of various things. Don't expect to know it all. If you have any questions or if you want to get in touch with us, I'm sure Bart or myself, you've got our emails or our phone numbers, so don't hesitate.